Hey guys, thanks for joining us for this 102nd episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests on this episode include former NATO commander Wesley K. Clark, who's featured in the documentary Hot Money. We'll also visit with his son, Wesley Clark Jr. We'll also visit with actor Courtney Gains, the star of Back to the Future, Can't Buy Me Love, Children of the Corn, and more. He is going to be talking about the new film Queen Bees. We'll also visit with friend of the show, new artist Bly. Got a brand new single, Drunk Dial, that drops tomorrow. If you would, please take the time to subscribe, comment, leave some feedback, check out the shop, and of course, share with your friends. Now it's a new month and we've got America's birthday coming up on Sunday, but here are a few more things to look forward to in July. Number 1, lots of sports. The NBA Finals start a week from today. Another UFC rematch for Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier is set for July 10th. The ESPY Awards are the same night. Baseball's All-Star Game is July 13th, and the Summer Olympics finally get started July 23rd. A few big movies are on the way. Black Widow hits theaters and Disney Plus next Friday. Space Jam: A New Legacy with LeBron James lands July 16th. And Disney's Jungle Cruise movie comes out July 30th. On TV, Big Brother and Love Island return next Wednesday. The Monsters, Inc. series, Monsters at Work, hits Disney Plus the same day. The new Gossip Girl reboot arrives on HBO Max July 8th, and Shark Week starts July 11th. And finally, talking about the holidays, the big one is the 4th of July this Sunday. But there's a few more that you might want to mark on your calendar. Like tomorrow is World UFO Day. National Bikini Day is the 5th. Fried Chicken Day is the 6th. Pina Colada Day is the 10th, followed by Mojito Day on the 11th. National French Fry Day is the 13th. Ice Cream Day is the 18th. Junk Food Day is the 21st. And National Tequila Day is July 24th. We've talked about the documentary Hot Money before, had the opportunity to talk with former NATO commander Wesley Clark and Wesley Clark Jr. as well with us today. And first, Wesley and Wesley Jr., thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Cameron.
Now, tell us a little bit about Hot Money. I know that this is actually available. I'm an Amazon Prime member, so I'm excited going to have the chance to watch this one for free. And tell us, first off, Commander Clark, what it's like to see the feedback that's coming from the film.
Oh, we're getting good feedback from it. And, this is about the financial system. This is about how we're all connected to climate change, even if we don't see it today or tomorrow. We're not hit by a storm or flooding. And yet, through the financial system, through mortgages, through derivatives, the risk is spread and the risk is growing, and it affects all of us.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about climate change and its correlation with the financial markets as well?
Well, I'll let Wes Jr. talk about that.
Well, I think the biggest misconception is that we will have the money and time to address it. And what the film lays out is, look, capital is like a lot of capital is its potential, right? So right now we have more capital than we've ever had. And that's capital that can be used to, switch to renewable energy, used to harden our infrastructure, used to prepare us for the changes that are coming in the climate. But once this hits full force, and we are very close to that happening, all that capital will wind up evaporating before we've ever even used it as asset values go down. So it's important that we spend the money and we spend the resources to address it now, because it will not be there when we need it.
What is the response that folks are giving? Are they surprised by the state of situation that we're in right now?
No, people see it, but they don't take action on it. So what we're trying to do is reach a different audience. All the smart people understand this, and these universities and everything, at least they consider themselves smart people, and they all get it. And what we're trying to do is bring some of their analysis out to ordinary people who don't have a chance to listen to these people. Because truth is that unless popular opinion demands action, there won't be action. The thing about democracy is we don't have to kowtow to the government. We mostly are free to do everything we want. And we go in a 330 million different directions. It's only when there's a catastrophe that we come together. And to deal with climate change, we have to be able to foresee the future catastrophe and come together now to deal with it and prevent it. So this is a tough problem for democracy.
And Wes Jr., for you, what can we do on an individual basis? I mean, is that what it's going to take for us to make the change, each of us making a change in our own personal lives as well?
Actually, not really. That was something that was the whole, like, what's your personal carbon footprint? That was something that was developed by think tanks funded by oil companies to try and put the blame on individuals as opposed to systemic problems. Is it going to require change from all of us? Yeah, but the average person can't control how much plastic is used in their packaging. They can't control how they heat their home or cool their home or their choice of electricity. People don't have those choices. Those are systemic choices that are determined essentially by our, legal system and financial system.
Wesley, how hard is it going to be to make an adjustment, to make the changes that we need to make, and how much is that going to affect our day-to-day activities?
Well, it's very hard to make these changes because the economic power drives politics, and economic power is anchored in oil, gas, big utilities that use coal-fired power plants or gas-fired power plants. And so, and these are good people in here. They're just trying to help the country and do their own business, but they fight for their own interests in Congress. They resist the passage of laws that would move the society and its economy in a different direction. So it's only when the entire public comes to recognize the problem that you can work against these very powerful economic forces.
And I know we talked about this before, but to have the voice of Jeff Bridges to be a part of this and really going full bore involved in this one as well, what does that say to you about how Hollywood or maybe that side of things sees the problem that we've got to face here in the near future?
Well, Jeff saw the problem firsthand because his house was washed away in a mudslide in Santa Barbara. So, but in general, Hollywood sees the problem. Look, they're not connected to it economically, except maybe some investments in oil and gas or something like this. It's not their livelihood. But when you're connected to this economically and people are telling you your industry is causing profound problems, boy, it's hard to get out of that. And that's our problem. Lots of talk, not much action.
That's right. And again, Wes Jr., I always want to make sure and let our listeners know, like I said, Amazon Prime members have a special right now where folks can find more information about the documentary and everything you've got going social-wise as well.
Sure. They can watch it for free on Amazon Prime. So Hot Money is free on Amazon Prime. 70% of Americans are members of Amazon. So you can all watch it. Also, DVDs are available at your local library.
All right. Well, Wesley Clark and Wesley Clark Jr., great to visit with you guys. Check out the documentary Hot Money. And guys, hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Cameron. Hope you have one too.
Something called the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council says that we'll eat 150 million hot dogs on July 4th, making it the top hot dog eating day of the year. Now, they did a new poll and asked people to name the best drinks to pair with a hot dog. And 1 in 11 Americans must be fancier than I am because 9% said wine pairs well with them. Now, soda was number 1, with 76% of people agreeing it goes well with hot dogs. That's followed by beer, 57%, lemonade, 54%, iced tea, 48%, orange juice, 12%, milk, 9%, and wine, also 9%. They also looked at America's most loved regional hot dog styles, and New York style is number 1. That's an all-beef dog topped with steamed onions and deli-style mustard. Of course, bonus points if you buy them from a street vendor who's yelling at a cab driver, am I right? Now, second on the list is Chicago style with mustard, relish, onions, peppers, tomatoes, a pickle, and celery salt, all jammed into a poppy seed bun. And third on the list is Detroit-style coney dogs, topped with mustard, onions, and chili. The Hot Dog and Sausage Council's website has a list with another 15 regional-style dogs you can check out as well. Excited to talk this afternoon with actor, and he's also a musician, I found out a little while ago. Courtney Gains with us today. And first off, Courtney, I truly appreciate you taking the time to be on the show.
No problem, but who you calling special?
Yeah, I know, right? Now, Courtney, I know one of the things that I noticed whenever I got the press release was 30 years in the industry you're celebrating. And how unbelievable is that for you to even take that in?
Yeah, 35 or something at this point. Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you look back, right? It's like, where did all the time go, as they say, you know? That's why it's funny when, of course, everyone wants to talk about, Children of the Corn, and I understand that. But sometimes, people ask me questions for this and that, and I'm like, man, that was like 30 years ago. I don't freaking remember.
What is the one for you that sticks out as one of the roles that you really hang on to, and that you're like, if I want to be defined by one thing, I want to be defined by that one?
I wanted to be defined by one role. Ooh. Probably not Children of the Corn, but that is the one I am defined by it. And I like I said, I understand to some degree. I understand, but let's see, what one would I want to be defined by? Yikes! I don't know. That's a really good question. No one's actually asked that question before. I like it. I don't know. The one that comes to mind is just a role recently that, fairly recently that I did a really good guest star on Criminal Minds, where I play the character that he thinks the whatever the name for the bad guy, the sub. Yeah, the unsub. But it turns out I'm not the unsub, but I play this really homeless, mentally challenged character, yet he's protecting, someone else. And that was a really challenging role. That was one of the few guest stars I've ever been just offered. I guess they figured it was a really challenging role. They needed someone who could probably figure it out. But I remember when we went to the table read, I got there early so I could meet the director, and I said, I don't understand this. And I never do something. I said, can you help me? He's like, let's go talk to the executive producer writer. So we went to him. I said, I don't understand this. And even he who wrote it could not really break it down for me. It was that complicated, but he gave me some insights, but not really like all of them. And, but they gave me plenty of time. They were very clever how they left all the good stuff in the interrogation for the end, so gave me a week to really work on the character. And they did something that no one's ever done in television before, which was say, how would you like to shoot this and in what order? Like, it's going to be you all day. How would you like to do this? And that was actually good, because there was a particular scene I wanted to have a chance to have a discussion about that was later in the day for the arc. And it really made a big difference. But in television, they usually just walk you on set and go, walk here, sit here. And if you manage to spit your lines out without screwing up, they're moving on. You have to shoot an hour episode in a week. They have to really move. So that was a pretty great experience as far as acting chops go. So I'll go with that for now.
There you go. Now, how much different is the process of getting into character on like you said, on a television show as opposed to coming on a movie set? I mean, how much different is trying to get in that role?
It all comes down to time, right? And that's the advantage that a movie star gets. They might have 6 months to prepare a character, 3 months to prepare a character. I tell people, you give me 6 months, I'll do it in Chinese for you. You know what I mean? It's like that. I've never had that level of luxury. If you're lucky on a film, if you have a month, like, you can really do a lot of prep in a month. Sometimes you have that, sometimes you don't. It seems like nowadays, it seems like less and less time. But television, it's a very quick turnaround. If you come in, you audition. So you have less than 24 hours to prepare a character for an audition for a cold reading. So that's very difficult in itself. And if you're lucky enough to then get the job, it's usually within a week.
Wow. And
then you're shooting for, at tops, if it's a big guest star, a week, and you're moving very fast. So you have to you don't have a lot of time to explore. You kind of got to go with your big guns. You got to go with what you know works. And so the bigger the film are, even if you're lucky enough to do some theater and have, several weeks of rehearsal, you have much more time to experiment, much more time to explore. And that an actor loves that luxury if you can have it, but television is usually not that arena.
Now, we've talked about over your career, some of the different movies that you've been in. The one I go back to, I saw Children of the Corn once. I tried to forget everything about it. It gave me nightmares forever. So that's not my character. I stick you with the Burbs. You with the Burbs. That's where I stick you at.
Well, that's my, in terms of doing conventions and things, the number two seller is the Burbs, because it's horror, but it's like, comedy, but the people that like horror love it, Yeah. And I really did not know the level of cult following it had till I started doing conventions. It has a really, really loyal fan base of people who love that movie. Mm-hmm. So that's been a nice surprise to know.
And you worked with some amazing actors and actresses over your career as well. And I tell you, the one out now, Queen Bees, you'd be hard pressed to find a better A-list, would you?
No, you're absolutely right. And Michael Lembeck, the director, I took a comedy class that his father started years ago, the Harvey Lembeck Comedy Workshop, that Michael, and his sister Helene still teach. And when I heard that he was doing this project, I reached out and said, "Hey, you got anything?" And he didn't have it was a cameo essentially. But when I was told I could work with Anne Margaret, Ellen Bernstein, Loretta Devine, and Jane Curtin, I'm like, "Oh man, let's do this." And I've been pleasantly surprised that my scene made the trailer. Sometimes you have a small scene, you might not even make the movie, so much less make the trailer. So that's been a pleasant surprise, and it was a joy to get to work with those ladies.
Queen Bees out now. Where can folks find more info on that while we're talking?
It's been out now for I think this weekend or this Friday will make 2 weeks. You can find it in theaters. It's in quite a few theaters, and it's also on VOD. So it's really available, and it's doing pretty well out there. So it's great.
Now, Courtney, this last year, has it made you appreciate some of the theatrical releases that you've had and the big opportunities to be out with the crowds? And has it made you look forward to those opportunities coming up again as things open up?
Well, yeah, I think for everybody, it's changed our perspective a little bit. I'm not red carpets are fun on one hand, but they're also like strange and awkward and weird. You stand on this carpet and all these people are, with their cameras are asking you to look directly at them all at the same time because they want a shot where you're looking. And the shots are always garbage anyway, right? It's not like lit well, but you're always going like, there's all this flash, and it just seems really weird and stupid, And it's terrifying, at a premiere with all these people seeing your movie for the first time. If often is the case, I haven't had a chance to see it either. So it's the first time. It's always a terrifying and overwhelming experience. But yet at the same time, obviously the whole thing's a buzz, right? It's like a crazy buzz experience. So yeah, it'll be fun to see something with an audience again. That would be great, and do a carpet again. It's been a while. But what's great is, oddly enough, all these movies, there was a backlog of these films I've done. And I guess maybe because of COVID, nothing came out last year. And all of a sudden, they're all coming out back to back. And ironically, most of them were picked up by Gravitas Ventures. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones putting them out theatrically and on VOD. So we've got Queen Bees, which is out now. Mm-hmm. The second movie is a little indie film I did during the pandemic called River. It was only 5 people in the project, and it's got sci-fi undertones, but it's not like CGI and in space. And that's coming out in July 13th. Mm-hmm. And then I just found out a movie I did before even Queen Bees called Charming the Hearts of Men is coming out August 13th. And again, all theatricals, all VOD at the same time, all Gravitas Ventures. So God bless them for picking up my films and putting them out. And then I just found out another movie I was in called Await the Dawn, which I knew had been out in Europe, a horror film, just got on Amazon Prime this week. And so that's out as well. So all of a sudden it's just like all these projects that have been like, what happened to them, which often happens when you do indie films, are just all coming out at the same time. So
now, how do you see the VOD, the on-demand and all that moving forward? How do you see that affecting theatrical releases? Do you think once everything's back open, it's back to normal, you think?
I don't think so. I think that this has changed everybody's, people don't even, there are a lot of people now who don't have to go into an office anymore, and they can move anywhere they want. And there's some great things about that. I'm not saying theaters are going to die, but I think they've taken a big hit, obviously. And some of the other big chains are already buying up other chains. That's already going on. But I think with home entertainment, you can buy these insanely giant screens now. You might as well be in a theater and see it in the comfort of your own home. All you gotta do is just, click and boom, you're there for a couple bucks, maybe even cheaper than going to the movies. And certainly the popcorn prices are ridiculous. The highest markup in food history, I think, is popcorn. That's what
I think you're right.
And so I think it's going to affect it. I think the best way to really compare the whole thing is what happened to the record industry, when the CD died. I think every time everything goes digital, I think it greatly affects, the physical world, like CDs or going to a movie theater, for that matter. Mm-hmm. I mean, if or even buying a DVD, right? And you can actually buy the film on VOD if you want to keep it forever, so to speak. So, if you want to see it once, you can do that, or you can have it. And so I just think there's going to be more and more of that going on. I think it already has. And I think you're already seeing it with the, when you look at the Hulus and the Netflix, I mean, that's essentially what the record industry had to do was start buying up all the catalogs. It all became about having giant catalogs, and you're getting your movies out through commercials, films, television. And that's how young audiences are finding out about bands, and that's how that's worked. I think now you're going to see this, you're seeing the same thing happening. And I think, Disney was the first one to really figure it out with Disney Plus, where they're like, okay, we're not giving you our movies anymore, Hulu and Netflix. And not only that, we're going to go buy Fox and we're going to own Star Wars. Beat that, suckers. And, so you want to see Star Wars? If you don't own the DVD, you got to go through Disney Plus now, so they're buying up Disney and Fox. I mean, that's two giant catalogs. That's 2 out of the top 5, right? So you might see that happen again. Paramount's doing Paramount Plus, but I could see Paramount getting bought out eventually by one of the other big ones like Universal or something. So I think it's going to become the catalog game, so that, again, the money is going to be that anybody can find, just tons and tons of movies and catalog that they want to just press a couple buttons and bang, there it is in their home,
Now, you also mentioned CDs, and you got the guitars hanging behind you. Has this last year, as a musician, as a writer, has it been adverse on your writing, or has it been beneficial on your writing?
It only really caused me to write one song, which is out now in my band Ripple Street, called The Great Divide, that you can find on Spotify and all those things, but you can also see the music video on YouTube. And that was just really, I felt like in this last year, everybody just went off the freaking rails politically. It just went nuts. And we're constantly spewing their opines, and I try to keep my, I don't know. I don't really want to get into my personal life too much as an actor. It's like, let's talk about acting. Or you want to talk about what I think philosophically, but like, politics, that's, religion, those are dangerous subjects, and I understand that. But people went nuts. And so I just felt like I needed to, what I do is I do what I do. I created a artistic response. And so the song is just really about, in the video, you're seeing, Black Lives Matters protests, as long as you're seeing Trump rallies, because all of that was happening. It was this perfect storm. And not picking a side, but pointing out that we're sort of being put in positions to pick sides. Like one of the lyrics is, you have to be for the second, or you have to be for gun control. No, you don't. That's what we get presented. You have to be on the right or on the left. No, you don't. I mean, I understand people want, the Second Amendment, and people want to have the right to have guns, but at the same time, I'm like, do we have to have machine guns in the city? No, I don't know if I'm with that. And if I say I want that, that doesn't mean I'm against the Second Amendment. That's you putting words in my mouth. I didn't say that. I just said, I don't know that we need submachine guns, that were meant for war in Vietnam, in the city. That's all. And if you think that's out of line, then, you're pretty strong about where you are. You know what I mean? So that's really what the song's about, is like, that choosing extremes is causing the great divide and making our country weaker, in my opinion. It's not making it better. It's making it worse. So I sent it out to all the people I knew who were bitching and moaning. I sent them the song, and that was my reply. And most people responded positively. A few people won't talk. They just absolutely will not talk to you about that. That's how staunch they are on their point of view.
Did music for you, was it the precursor to acting, or was it after you got started acting?
No, I'll link those two questions, what we just were talking about in this together, sort of. So no, the answer is it all started around the same time. I started taking guitar lessons around the same time I started taking acting lessons, which was at 13. I think I was much more goal-oriented with being a professional actor, though, than when I was being a professional musician. I just wanted to learn to play guitar. And then when I started learning to play guitar, I started writing, and that's what I really enjoy. I really enjoy the creative moment that happens when you write a song. It's you know, you feel like the muse coming through you, they talk about, it's really cool when that happens. And so that's really and it's also allowed me a way to express things that were going on in my life, frustrations or things that I was processing. Through putting it into song, it really helped me, grieve the process. So, and then obviously the acting career took off, and I would still sort of keep music going. My first band was in LA, was called The Gathering, an acoustic band that while metal was going on, I was playing. We were playing coffee houses, so it was totally a different vibe, But to jump into this to the pandemic, it sort of put me in it sort of did two things to me, realizing like life is short. If you have something you want to do, you better get it done. And I've been talking about doing an acoustic record for a while, and I just kept kind of putting it off or not knowing how I was going to get it done. And having the more time on my hands, I started, doing research and realized you can get a recording home system together now for like really cheap. You just get this little box that you plug into your computer that gives you then a thing where you can track. You need 2 condenser mics and maybe a mic stand, and you can track stuff in the comfort of your own home. So that really started. I started realizing like I have no excuses. So that started really getting me going there. And right at the same time that happened, my band Ripple Street, the bass player moved back to the Southeast. All of a sudden he came with some songs. Usually we did co-writing. Mm-hmm. And then he brought in, he had a friend that he writes with, this guy, Frankie Bogus, who also has a home studio, but actually knows how to engineer and produce. So that took it, could mix and we could get a mastering. And so all of a sudden that became very accessible. I ended up doing a movie in North Carolina and showed up and tracked a couple of vocals, and it went really well. And then I set up my studio. So now we're making songs happen that way too. So what's happening right now is I have a record coming out called Acoustic Gains Volume 1. Mm-hmm. We just put out our second single. I just put out my second single, Cherish, last week. The third single's coming out on Monday the 5th, called Let It Ride. And that's a very bluesy, very vintage, very bluesy acoustic tune. With the band, we've put out 3 singles so far this year. The last one was called Would You, and it's the complete opposite of this mellow acoustic record I'm doing. I equate it to like a Black Sabbath-y type vibe song. It's got that heavy vibe to it, and it's fun. And we put out another song called Slab City, which is also a video. And then, like I said, Great Divide. So we've got 2 more songs to go. I just finished doing my vocal tracks on those, so we're on the mix process now. And once those 2 singles are out, then that will be an EP. So it's been a very creative time for me musically, and I'm enjoying the process. But it's been good for me to finally have no excuses to get off my ass and start putting out some of these songs I've been sitting on for a long time. But I just, finally I'm just like, let's just do them acoustically the way I wrote them. Let's just get them out, So
if folks want to keep up with the music, the social media and all that as well, where's the best place to keep up with all of that?
Sure. So you can, for the music, for Courtney Gains and Ripple Street, you can find us on Spotify for sure. And then like I said, you can find us on Amazon and iTunes and Deezer, all that. If you want to hear some of our stuff. Also, if you search us on YouTube, you'll find we've got a lot of videos up and things. As far as me, Facebook is the best way to keep up with me. That's the stuff I post the most. And you just, Courtney Gains, there might be a couple of them, but the one who's got all the current real stuff, you'll know which one's me. And then I have an Instagram as well. And if you just go Courtney Gains, you'll find me. And that's it. I don't do Twitter. It's too much. So those are my 2 ways to find me.
Social media. I mean, who would have ever thought back when you started, Courtney, that people would want to know everything you do every day, right?
Yeah, I think even conventions have also opened that door. I think that people have a lot more access to people than they used to. And I think it's a double-edged sword. I think on one hand, that's good. And I get where people dig that. I think on the other hand, it can be too much. And I tell my son, like, don't compare yourself to people's highlight reel, because that's all a Facebook or anything. And no one's talking about no one's talking about
Right.
their agonies of defeat as much as they're talking about, hey, look at me, I'm in Cabo. It's like, it's always about all the look at me looking good stuff, So, but I like to have, I like to be able to keep people up on what I'm doing, those who are interested enough to find out. But yeah, like I said, I don't want, I don't want people to know, too much about me.
Right.
I don't want, and what I mean by that is just also as watching the role, just watch if I see somebody come on TV and they're English, and now I've heard them do their English accent, but they've been doing a great American accent or something. Now every time I see them, I just think, oh, they're English though, right? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I just want to watch them work. So I'm not that interested in people, actors' personal lives for the most part, because I just want to see their work. And so that's sort of where I'm at too. Is I don't want you to know too much. I want you to just watch the work and get what you get from it. Hopefully, in some ways, you get touched, moved, or inspired. That's my job, right?
There you go. You've done a great job for an unbelievable amount of years, right, Courtney?
Been blessed to be able to keep doing it this long. It's not totally a mistake. I've constantly worked at my craft and things like that. And I've tried to be smart about realizing what age I am and what roles are available, and adjusting to being able to get those types of roles. I think when, you start out as a child, teenage actor, it's not an easy transition. I mentally made sure that happened. Once I was working, I didn't start taking for granted, like, oh, I'll just have jobs forever. I was like, yeah, no, you got to keep working at get good, just keep getting better at what you do, that'll take, and then things will take care of themselves.
That's a good one right there. That's good advice right there from the mouth of Courtney Gains.
Yes, sir.
Well, Courtney, it has been great to visit with you today, sir. Like I said, been a fan of so many of your movies over the years. Hope you have a happy 4th, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Good. That sounds good. Been a pleasure meeting you, and talk to you soon then.
Well, this is unlucky. 27-year-old Vincent Marks lives in Plaquemine, Louisiana, near Baton Rouge, and likes to pretend to be a cop. And earlier this month, he pulled someone over near New Orleans. Now, his car had flashing lights, so the driver assumed it was a real cop and pulled into a parking lot. Then Vincent used his own car to block the guy in. He whipped out a fake badge and acted like a police officer. But it turned out he picked the wrong person to mess with, because the driver happened to be a real cop who was off duty. The guy also recognized Vincent because they'd had a run-in before. He was involved in some sort of domestic dispute earlier this year. Now, it sounds like he took off when the real cop recognized him, because it happened on June 10th and they just tracked him down on Monday. And he is facing charges for impersonating an officer. Final guest on the show today is a friend of the show and got a brand new single we're going to be talking about dropping tomorrow. His name is Bly, and like I said, I call him a friend and family of the show as well. And first off, Bly, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, Bly, we've talked before, and obviously a new single out. You graduated high school, you're living life, and how excited are you about the new single, and how long was this process?
Oh man, this process was extensive. I've had this song sitting on it for about a year and a half. I've been wanting to record this song, but all the emotions I feel about this song, I feel like everyone who listens to it will feel the same way, because it's just it's a hurt song almost. It relates to people, with Drunk Dial being the title. A lot of people have had that happen. So I feel like this will be a good connection song with some of my audience.
Now, since we spoke last time, obviously lots has changed. You have signed. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that experience and how excited you are going into the summer after graduation.
Oh, so the Smith Distribution Group signing, that was amazing. I can't even put that into words, but we got there and he was like, here's the pen and paper, sit down, let's do some photos and everything. And that was it. I mean, we just signed away and bam, I'm automatically signed to a distribution company. What? You kidding me? But yeah. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
What it's like right now going into the summer after graduation, how the signing and everything, how has that changed maybe your summer plans?
So far, I think the signing hasn't changed any of my summer plans at all. But, well, music-wise, it has live shows. We're doing lots of live shows this summer. So with the signing, that got me a lot of attention on the social media. And so we're trying to use that as much as we can, tagging Smith Music Group and all that. And so it's definitely started something that I didn't think would happen until much later. But as far as like hanging out in summer goes, I'm not sure. But I'm going to try to balance both.
You got work to do, right?
Yes, I got a lot of work to do.
Now tell us about the music this last year for you. This is something I love talking, especially with creators, about, is how this last year has affected your music creation.
So within this past year, I've actually gotten a lot done. I've at this point, I think about 16 or 17 full songs written, and there's still many more unfinished ones. But just with this break and like of not doing anything and just, you know, all I can do is focus on my craft. All I can do is just hone in and try to make myself better and write more songs and get more connected with the music. I'm really blessed that that's happened, honestly.
Now, how much do you have to rely on Dad, or how much do you kind of like scoff at Dad when he tries to give you input?
He actually gives some pretty good input. On a lot of songs, he's written quite a few words that I was just stuck. And then he's come in and helped me just a couple words. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, thank you. And then on the gig side of it, he's very strong and he's very, very reliant because, you know, I'm just starting out and he has 30 plus years of experience in the music industry. So it's very, very helpful.
Now, what has been the inspiration of late lyrically for you?
I don't know. So that's a hard question for me to answer because my songwriting process is different for each song, I want to say, because it usually starts out with a word that comes up in my head when I'm singing a melody. Once I got the melody good, then once that word pops in, my brain creates a story around one word or a couple words, the phrase that I want to drive into people's heads, like drunk dial, you know. That's the main phrase. That's what the entire song's about. And so all the words and the verses and everything are tied together, making the story about this drunk dial. So that's my creative process.
Now, do you subscribe to the fact of sitting down and putting pen to paper each and every day? Do you have a set aside time that you do that, or do you just do it when the inspiration hits you?
As it comes, because my main creative point, I guess, is when I'm like doing something. When I'm doing something that's just routine, like my main, most of my songs come from when I'm doing the dishes. Really, that's where it comes from. I mean, every time I'm doing dishes or, you know, something in routine, sweeping the floor like I usually do or something, that's whenever my engine gets going because I'm doing something that I'm already used to. So my brain's free, you know, to just think. So
now, how much different is it as looking at social media as an artist, a creator? How much does social media look different now as opposed to even 6 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, so it's actually changed a lot because I used to use social media just to have it, you know, just a regular Instagram page, Snapchat, TikTok or whatever. But since we've tried to dive in more as, you know, musicians, it's a little different because now I have to worry about promotion and putting money on a post and try to get it out places and make sure I don't put a typo in my captions, making sure I have the right hashtag. And it's just little things. It's little things that kind of make me look at it a little differently, but it makes it a little bit harder, but it's a lot more fun because the end results are outstanding. So.
And obviously your vision is affected too, because I know as you get into social media, you get into marketing and things like that, just walking down the street, you see things different, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I see a QR code and it's like, man, what is that? What does that lead to or something? I'm always thinking like that now.
Now, where is the single going to be available? Where's the best place for folks to pick up Drunk Dial? I mean, obviously it's everywhere, right?
Yeah, everywhere on any music platform, Spotify, iTunes, Tumble. Is it Tumble? Yeah, Tumble. But anything like that, any big, Amazon Prime Music does it as well. So pretty much anywhere you can find Drunk Dial tomorrow. Yeah.
Now, another question. We talk social media. TikTok's blown up this last year, and as a new artist, I know you've got to be taking advantage of that. And how hard is TikTok as opposed to the others for you to learn?
It's very weird because it's not formatted like Facebook or Instagram. It has a reel system instead of just like a post that you just like a video or whatever. So you have to swipe, and there's different sounds you have to use. I've never really. Like whenever Vine came out, it's kind of like the same thing. I never used Vine. And so it's like, you use different sounds or whatever. And I looked up my other song, Highs. It's a sound on TikTok. So I've used that a couple times. But my TikTok following isn't that strong, but it's getting there. It doesn't take baby steps.
It doesn't take long. It doesn't take
long nowadays. Yeah.
Now, what are your goals social media wise? Do you have goals set up there? I mean, obviously as an artist, you have goals for sales and for shows and stuff like that. Social media, is that a big goal as well?
Yeah, right now we're trying to boost my following on Instagram because Facebook is where most of my following is. I have a lot more people on there. Excuse me. But yeah, right now I was just trying to get views, trying to get people to see what's out there, because on the statistics that you post, like when you post a page and you promote it, you can see who's viewed it, where they viewed it, how many times, who saved it. You can see all that stuff. And it's really interesting to see that people have shared this video and people have saved this video to their own Instagram library so they can look back at it. And that's really cool. So that's a whole new goal, to try to get more and more people to get ready to do that. And we're trying to get promotion for music videos that we're getting ready to shoot coming out later and then within the next couple months. And those are just the main goals.
Now, we're talking about the socials. Why? I got to make sure and let everybody know each and every social. You got to let me know.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So Instagram is at @just_Bly. Snapchat is Bly Gomez. Facebook is just Bly, or no, not just Bly, it's just the word Bly. And then that's a little confusing. And then, TikTok is @just_Bly as well.
Well, again, the new single, Drunk Dial, you can pick it up tomorrow. You can also check out on the morning show. We will be debuting it on the airwaves tomorrow morning at about 9:45 on KQ106. And Bly, brother, it's always great to see you, man. I'm so proud of everything you're doing. Can't wait to continue to see the success and the growth, brother.
Hey, thank you. I can't wait to see what happens next. Thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for joining us for this 102nd episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, or anything else you'd like to know, you can hit me up on the contact page at gqwithcam.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at GQWithCam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, you can visit our merch store where we've got hoodies, shirts, stickers, mugs, tumblers, and more, gqwithcam.com/shop. And if you do have a special guest idea, email me, gqwithcam@gmail.com. Well, thanks again for our good friend Brandon Allen coming up with our theme music. We're going to let him play us out and hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday.